traffic.
It is 5:32. We're gonna call the Shoreline Fire Department RFA Board of Commissioner meeting to order. Could you please join me in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Taking roll?
See, this is yeah, you're not used to that.
No.
Just, yeah, just go over.
So I say their names?
Yeah,
David Harris,
Commissioner Harris.
Commissioner Harris, sorry.
Present.
Commissioner Admin,
Present.
Commissioner Sullivan,
Here.
Commissioner Webster,
Here.
Commissioner Haviland.
Here.
Commissioner Byers.
Here.
Commissioner Fisher.
And Commissioner Pratt is in traffic, he should be here shortly. So.
Consideration of the agenda.
No, I think we're good.
We do have Bofa here. We're gonna add her to the agenda right at top. And that's the only thing that I know.
Okay. So there was no public. Well, actually, Eric, I guess, is public. Do you have anything to say? Okay. But did you have a form that, we're not gonna go bring it up, you just have to describe it, I guess.
I'm just gonna describe it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we have a difficulty. And basically, I will follow up with an email after this, and thank you for allowing me to just cut in. It should take no more than 5 minutes, my hope. So basically, I know that last couple of weeks ago, I believe I sent out, this is in regards to the commissioner's payroll accounting form. And because now that we have 3 board meetings, and thank you, Beatrice, for putting the, she did revise the form now that actually includes all the 3 boards. We have North Shore Shoreline and Shoreline RFA board combined into one form. So you don't have to turn in 2 different forms each time for payroll. And so it looks like this, and I will email this over to you. And additionally, what you should have in front of you is just basically a brief description of commissioner's compensation. So it's going to be a little bit different right now that you are serving 2 boards, your fire districts and then also the Shoreline RFA. So with that, Shoreline RFA, you have 144 days of service per calendar year. And also, you also get 96 days for your fire district, which is North Shore and Shoreline. That's based on the entity with the budget limit, right? Any entity over 10 million is 144 days. That's the maximum. And less than 10 million, 96 days. So I also provided, kind of like in the middle of the page there, tracking days of service. Provided 3 different examples on how that would work. So one of the example would be is that, let's just say, it's on Commissioner Fisher. She comes in to sign vouchers for Shoreline Fire Department. That same day, also sign vouchers for Shoreline RFA. So how you would enter that information is that you would actually have 2 entries. One for Shoreline Fire Department per diem, and also one for Shoreline RFA per diem. So that's pretty much it. And then I would cover a lot more in detail when we all get together for maybe an hour and a half workshop. That will be something that we'll have to find some time in the future for maybe an hour or hour and a half workshop together. And then, of course, at the very bottom, the submission date for payroll. I know that last time when I sent out an email, I thought that we needed to get the forms in sooner for the May's payroll, but I just understand that we're actually processing a month behind, so therefore, you have until June sixth, basically, right? Until Friday, June sixth to turn everything in, that will be the deadline for May's service per diem days. So, and then monthly after that is usually the first Friday of each month for prior month's service days. Yes, sir.
Is the May 20, because I was just working with Rachel right before I drove down here. We're preparing for the May 29th payroll, so that will still be processed. Will that be, that we were thinking that's gonna be processed on the RFA and we're transferring all the funds and all that. Is that not accurate?
We are still going to be processing May 29th payroll under Shoreline RFA budget.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
But that doesn't affect it.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
All right, thank you.
Also, for park commissioners, North Shore Park Commissioners, we need to have your information for onboarding. I know that you have processed payroll through Springbrook, but now we need to convert that information into our payroll system, which is ADP. I emailed you her contact, emergency contact, and other W-4 tax forms. So if I can get that from you within the next week, that would be fantastic. So I can get that over
Did you
to
send that
you.
out?
Say it again.
Asking for W-4s and stuff, did you just send that out, because I haven't received it?
You have not. Okay, so let me resend that again. Actually, I sent that out May 6th. I will resend that again along with the new revised commissioner accounting form. Any questions for me? That's sure.
Great, thank you. Just, thanks for your patience, as we try to work through kind of the logistics of this whole thing, especially here. But we also didn't talk about Commissioner Wall in the roll call. Has there been any correspondence? Is that excused or? Has anybody heard from? That would be unexcused.
She did mention she would be on.
Oh, she did. Oh, okay. All right, so we'll just mark her as absent. All right, thank you.
Is it still okay for me to mention one more thing? Sure. Business cards, if you are interested in getting business cards, please email me to let me know. I'll start ordering that for you as well. I promise.
No, it's the process. It's all good. We'll just hold it.
Okay.
Moving on, we need approval of past minutes from May 1st.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes as presented for May 1st.
It's been motioned by Commissioner Webster. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Commissioner Sullivan seconds. Is there any comments, corrections?
Yes.
Okay. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimous. And then we see. We have no correspondence. I didn't see any warrants in here. Commissioner report. Commissioner Harris,
Nothing to report.
Commissioner Pratt, Commissioner Evan, Commissioner Sullivan.
No report.
Short and sweet. have a strategic plan discussion, Chief?
Not really, no. I mean, we're on, there's some capital projects that are ongoing and so forth, but I believe that we discussed that or it's been mentioned in the activity reports.
Well, let's move on to district activity reports. Carolyn. Anybody have anything?
What time is the graduation on May 3rd?
May 23rd.
You know that off the top on this, I can look it up. I have it at 5:30, well, I'm supposed to show up at 5:30. I don't know if it's. Program says. Have the time. Hmm. It's not on the.
Yeah, let me find out.
Okay. I believe it's, we'll get it before the end of the week.
All right, perfect. Anything else for Chief Callen? All right, let's move on to Chief Lawrence. Still no radio service in Snow County?
No, they did some tests today. Early next week, potentially we'll do for maybe some radios here for that to work. But timelines have been pretty optimistic.
How's that?
It's technically already something to do with the radios associated with the antennas.
Got it. That's under that facility. In all times, are those still pretty bad?
Yeah, they're still a challenge. Yesterday, RFP and Chief Henson with the Central Region Trauma Council. Great topic. Dr. McCoy told us today, this topic's getting more attention now than it has in the last 10 years. And we are hoping to have a short-term solution for us.
Anything else for Chief Lawrence? Okay. That's my agenda. Old business, new business, notification of meetings, Chief.
So, I thought we should have a discussion about how we're notifying things and I asked Matt Paxton to be here tonight too, in case there's some questions about any legal issues. I have conferred with him about what's required and what's the most streamlined approach. I'm gonna start off by apologizing because I made a bunch of decisions as we were getting the RFA up and running. I really apologize to the North Shore Board, but I made a decision specifically like regarding MailChimp, which is a blast out email that goes out to anybody that wants to sign up for reminders or notifications of meetings and so forth. I believe that North Shore has about 3,000 people. We signed up about, asked, and I think we have over 2,000 people as well from the shoreline side. As we were going through the RFA process, that people were signing up for interested parties and so forth. The challenge that we ran into, and Beatrice was at the tip of the spear on this, was that as we change meetings, well, first of all, if you change a meeting that's different than your regular meeting, it automatically becomes a special meeting. Regardless of whether or not it's a regular meeting that's being just rescheduled or whatever, it's now a special meeting. You can start the regular meeting, because we've done this before the stated time, and that still can be a regular meeting as long as you're not taking department actions, making department decisions. So for example, a promotional ceremony and we start, half an hour early, that can be a regular meeting, starting early, as long as we're not taking department actions, and so forth. And Matt, if there's something I'm missing, please, raise your hand or yell or whatever.
Clarify, so you're saying that if we start early for a presentation or something, but we go into our regular time slot, then we can make decisions.
Correct.
Okay.
Right, so if our regular time slot is, say, 5:30, and we wanna start at 5 to do a promotional ceremony, that's fine. Because we're not making any decisions, we're just celebrating promotions. And you can start a regular meeting even late, you just can't start it early, and do business. So, and that's something that I think that we've been a little, inconsistent on, with the special meetings. So the challenge that we ran into is that our past practice was to provide notices to not only on our website and social media and all that, but also posting the Shoreline Area News and other local, as appropriate, media, outlets. And so when a regular meeting gets moved, we're noticing it out, or, and now the trigger is, potentially 3 or 4 meetings per month. And Shoreline Area News start pushing back and saying, it's gonna take up half of the, notices, and there was some pushback on this. So again, I reached out to Matt, who was great with trying to, educate me on making sure that we were compliant. And so one of the things that we're thinking about doing is, and back to the MailChimp, is using that as a blast out to people that are interested, the 2,000 to 5,000 people, however many it is, reminding them of the meetings, and then posting it on our website and social media and all that, and not bugging Shoreline Area News unless it's something that's a special event or something that we really want to bring attention to. If we're just rescheduling the meetings to a special meeting, then, do it that way. This came to a head because of our 2 meetings in June and the July meeting. We're moving both our regular meetings, the June 5th to June 12th and the June 19th to June 26th, which not only moves the RFA meetings, but it also moves the district meetings. And we also, at some point, we're gonna figure out what we're gonna do with the July 3rd meeting next month. So it's all it's like a snowball that's getting bigger, and it came to a head. And so, again, I apologize that I took I told Amy, I was like, no, we're not interested in MailChimp. That's really not my decision. This is a board decision about, the transparency side. And the fact that we're not going to be doing the Shoreline Area News in the future, I think the MailChimp thing is now potentially a good idea of, getting community, notifying the community. Our plan, if you guys approve it, would be to have a checklist for our meetings and say, okay, board packets, blah, blah, saying Jenna, sending the packet out to the board, and then doing the MailChimp, or the blast out on the MailChimp thing at the same time. Beatrice is not familiar with it, so there's a little bit, there is a learning curve on all of this, to be honest. So.
One thing I did hear from Amy was that, the blast out is just an email letting them know that the.
Go look at the
Go look at the
website, or
website.
go look at, yeah, it's not blasting out the agenda.
Yeah.
We're just notifying to poke people to go to the website to get the most up-to-date and accurate agenda, because we are potentially modifying the agenda all the way up until the point that we're, sending the packets out to you all. Okay, so that's some of the background, and so now you guys can tell us what you would like.
I think it works well. I'm on that shift, and it does. It tells you just to go check the website. There's changes, and so it's a good notification.
The one thing I would say with that, on the website, I talked to Amy about this, and there was some confusion with when the meetings and stuff were that were canceled. And the way it was laid out there was very confusing as far as to, like I said, tonight's meeting was canceled, last week's meeting was canceled. If you go into those individual things and open it up and read down the bottom of it, says that in fact it was rescheduled to a different time and place, but it doesn't reflect that on the site. So when you
Yeah, we actually talked about this,
Yeah,
about
so-
trying to put it right up front, like.
That's what we're gonna do. It should be very clear for the public to be able to open up and say, yes, there is a meeting tonight. This is where that meeting is.
Because we don't want people showing up if they, either online or in person, for a meeting that's been moved. So, yeah, we talked about the front facing, being that up, that needs to be at the top of the front.
commissioners are gonna figure it out, the general public's also gonna. Know whether or not.
So are you talking about the website?
Yeah.
Because I've been working with Gallatin, so if it's a change to layout and all that, we need to probably talk
It has to
about
do,
that.
it was a way when you click on
Yeah,
the meetings of saying like, somehow saying, reschedule to whatever, instead of,
well, that was the problem where I had to cancel and then I had to create a special meeting. I was doing one where I said cancellation / rescheduled and saying, okay, this meeting's been canceled, but it's gonna be scheduled to this on the notice. But then because of all of this, I wasn't sure if we had to do a separate notice for canceling and then a separate notice for special meeting.
okay. Let's put this on the list of getting back to with Rebecca and finding out how to make sure that we're being, because I agree, I think with most of you that it can be, it's confusing. We've got 3 different meetings going on right now. Well, 4 a month, but 3 different agencies, and so let us try and figure out how to make sure that we're being clear about when meetings are getting moved. And hopefully we're not moving a lot of meetings, but this will come up, because there's meetings that fall on holidays, like next month, so.
I just suggest to make it easier for the people that receive our emails, if we could just also include a link to that page. So instead of just saying go to the website, actually have like a link to the meetings page on the website in that email that goes out, so that they can just click on that link. They don't have to then try to search it out.
I'd be okay with a link to the website or the subpage. I don't wanna go all the way to,
Isn't there just a meetings?
yeah, we could actually go to the meetings, that would be fine. I just don't want it, I don't want it to be so customized that when we customize things, to the very fine detail, it introduces the opportunity for error. So I'm okay with like pointing to the meetings page, part of the page, of the website, the meetings page, and then they can click on the right meeting.
I mean, I don't know, for instance, how much the city of Kenmore spends on its website, but I get emails that say, because you have interest in the Kenmore City Council, you're receiving notice of an upcoming council meeting. And you click on the link, and then it takes you to a site that then you can open it up. It has the agenda, it has the time, et cetera, it has the Zoom link, all that stuff's right there. Seems like a pretty good model of what we could do.
We don't have the administrative staff that the city has that's working on this. And I don't wanna screw up. Let us try and figure out what we can do. And make sure, I don't wanna point to something and then all of a sudden it's wrong or something, or we've changed things, so if we put the blast out email and now they're pointing to something that's not appropriate. I think if we remind people to go to the meetings, that page, they can pick on the meeting, or something like that. But I don't know I don't know MailChimp, I don't even know, I'm assuming you can put it, is it MailChimp that Kenmore uses? Or
I don't know what mechanism they use for
But they put a link in there.
Yeah, they put a link.
Yeah.
So then you can go to that gives you takes you to the meeting documents, and then you can, within the meeting documents, you can get the sub documents. I'm not suggesting we have to do that.
But that means it needs to be customized every single time.
Well, I think they have, there's gotta be a system that's pretty easy to make it work.
Let us explore with it and figure out.
But I guess my suggestion initially was just simply put a link to the meetings page. That's pretty, seems like.
Yeah, I'm okay with the meetings page, yeah. I just don't wanna go down to, documents. So the meetings page would be fine.
So, what is MailChimp exactly? And how does it work? Oh,
It's an email distribution service so that people can sign up and you can easily email a whole bunch of people. You just maintain mailing lists. I think it's actually
how do
free.
they find out about where to sign up?
I don't know, but our, prior board secretary, Amy, managed that, and she said it was free and easy to manage, so I don't think it sounds like.
Yeah,
it's difficult.
I did confirm it's free. I thought it was paid for.
Issues were, different. quotes that we had, they, in each one of the newspapers, we had that.
Oh, okay,
So it was in our.
okay,
Probably somebody has to
What
just
it's
add,
for, yes, it was in.
yeah.
I think someone needs to probably take the step of add this email to our list, which would probably be what Amy was doing.
We can work with Amy and try to figure out how she's managing this, because we're,
Right.
have no understanding of this at this time. She needs to educate, she needs to tell us what to do.
Yeah, she was sharp.
Oh, yeah. So. Anyway, so. Is that okay with the board? I don't need a motion or anything like that, it's, you know,
So as I understand your proposal, it was basically keep it as it is, but minus overwhelming shoreline area news themselves with the email. Is that correct?
right, so notices to the shoreline area news would not occur unless there's a special event or something that's outside of us, just, you know, meetings. So that there's value, so that people pay attention and it doesn't clutter up the shoreline area news. So, but yeah, we just post on our website, social media, blast out with the MailChimp. And then,
I would offer that I'm in favor. I obviously yes, spoke up in favor of it for at the last meeting when you talked about having canceled it.
Yeah.
So I think that it encourages transparency, it encourages people to be engaged and involved, and yeah, I don't think it's that big of an administrative lift once we get it figured out, because Amy managed it by herself for all of our meetings.
right,
So, and in fact, it was in place before Amy ever came for the North Shore Board.
well, I would agree, I think once we understand it and get it set up, it won't be that big of a deal, at least I'm hoping, so. It was just one, and I apologize for making that decision outside of the board. I was making a ton of these decisions of like, how are we gonna operate, how are we gonna make this work? And it was one of those things like, no, we don't need to do that, we've got the website, we've got and so that's my fault.
Okay, any further discussion? Moving on to resolution 25-15, adopting the RFA budget.
Okay, so, at the last meeting, I told you, I briefed y'all on why we couldn't adopt this resolution. Because the RFA started on May 1st, it isn't a full year budget, it is a May 1st to end of year budget. So, I went back and spent time, with Rachel, and thank you, Kim, for coming and helping us give, perspective. And we went back through the budget and modified all the expense budgets and the benefits budgets. Some of these are just, again, we don't have history on this because we don't have the experience as a, combined. Like, for example, on the benefits budget, we have experience on our left one with retirees, the impacts that they have on, expenses and so forth. I don't have that experience with the North Shore employees, and we track the costs differently between North Shore and Shoreline. So that was, kind of some, new area for us. As you may recall, there were a few items in the capital budget that we were discussing last time, and you asked for some more information on the City Light electric vehicle charging station. I'm now recommending that we don't pursue it. They are blowing through almost all. That's a little. I wanna go, let's see, dive. Anyway, sorry. So not only are they going through the 2025 funds very quickly, and if we don't apply within by the end of this week, they estimated that they were gonna be done. There's gonna be funds there apparently in 2026 as well. And so I would like to not, in fact, I pulled it off. I'm not recommending this at this time. And then we pull it off, and then we come up with a more formalized, plan at the end of the year where we're doing the budget for next year. And then we can be more intentional about how we go after it. One thing that was interesting that did come up is that
It does not have to be electric vehicle charging stations. It also helps pay for 220 outlets so that people can plug in their own vehicles, because most EV users have their own chargers with, or they take their charger with them. And so this would, so we could do either or, and those outlets are covered at 100%, not 50%. So it may be something that we need to explore, and that's another reason for delaying, and come up with a better, idea of what we want to try and do.
So would they have a separate meter so that we could track our usage of that?
You mean the outlets or the charging?
Yeah, outlets.
One of the things that, not the outlets, but the charging stations, one of the things that was interesting about that too, is that we need to dive into the details on that, because there was the possibility that we would need to report out the usage on a monthly or quarterly basis. And there seemed to be some caveats and things like, I was like, whoa, it's like, no, this is not something that we can just, jump right into within a week and make happen. So one thing that I did get clarification on, because there was a question that came up at the last meeting as well, is that this is not, in fact, it's more for our employees, not for public facing. So it's really about infrastructure for our employees. They don't mind if it's open to the public as well, but it is more intentional for the employees. And almost all of our stations have gates that separate out, between the public and the employees. Yeah.
I'm looking at this spreadsheet you emailed out, expense budget. So there's a column that's labeled remaining. And then there's a column that's labeled RFA budget.
Right.
What is the column that's labeled remaining? What's the meaning of that?
That was what's remaining in the shoreline budget at this time, well, as of a few days, last week, when we set the budget. So we, if we budgeted $100,000 for something, for 2025, and we've spent 25,000 of it, the remaining should be 75,000.
So then what is the column that indicates RFA budget? What does that mean?
That includes the RFA budget. That's what we're budgeting for the RFA.
For the remainder of the year?
Yes.
You said that was the remaining just from shoreline fire, or was it shoreline fire and North Shore?
This is shoreline, well, okay, so we combined, there wasn't a lot of North Shore budget and on the expense side, more on the capital, but on the expense side, it was just under $400,000 total. So not all of that 400, because there were some efficiencies that eliminate some of the redundancies and we got more efficient. So not all of that 400,000 came over, but that'd be for the whole year too. Just like in Shoreline, the North Shore district budget, there's been money that's been spent out of that 400,000 already. So what we did was we looked at and came up with like, okay, what's remaining in the Shoreline budget? What are the impacts of the North Shore budget, and what portion of that North Shore budget needs to come over? Because some things are fairly linear from month to month. Some things are annual, some things are quarterly, some things peak in the summer, like electrical usage, in the winter and the summer, it's more than the shouldering months. So some things are easier to predict than others, but this was our best guess with the information we had.
So still remaining is Shoreline plus North Shore? Or remaining was just Shoreline fire budget?
Just Shoreline.
Only?
Right.
And we don't have a column that's remaining in North Shore because there wasn't.
No, but there's only, it's
a lot of items.
it's just that, 20 line items, that were in there. Now, with the capital budget side, we did do that of like bringing over what was, from the North Shore capital side, combining with the Shoreline capital to the RFA capital.
That's what I wanted clarification, because we had quite a bit of reserve funds for capital and that's been taken.
This has nothing to do with reserve funds, this is the expense side,
Expense side,
the
okay.
expense
So
budget, yeah.
We had funds that were there.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
For capital, so that's why we were asking, you said it was strictly Shoreline remaining, but.
I was talking about the expense budget.
Okay.
There's differences here
Okay.
between the expense benefits and the capital. But the expense budget, because most of the costs were in the shoreline budget already, it was easier to do it that way.
Okay.
So I'm just looking at there's some areas in this spreadsheet that you highlighted in yellow, or at least the version that we have is highlighted in yellow. For instance, so I'm just trying to understand the document you sent us essentially. So like there's a line item on, I'm sure there's no page number in this, but it's line, it says strategic communications consultant, it's under consulting services.
Right.
And the shoreline budget remaining is 45,951.85. And then the RFA budget is 80,952. So what does that mean? Or what's it, just so I can understand
Right.
what this document means.
This is a kind of a confusing line item because it is a contract that runs out at the end of August. July or August, and so we were budgeting for the remaining of the year for that. So that was a decision that that we had talked about making at the beginning of the year, and we evaluated partway through the year. So this is our recommendation, is to continue at a decreased amount, but continue to use our consultant.
Okay.
Any other questions, or do you guys want a few more minutes to look? And do we have a motion? To pass resolution 2515.
I'll make a motion to move to authorize the board of commissioners to sign resolution 2515, authorize the fire chief to establish expense budgets subject to change as identified earlier.
It's been motioned by Commissioner Byers. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
It's been seconded by Commissioner Feldman. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Okay, we're on to projected agenda.
Do you want to make a decision on the July 3rd meeting?
I-
We can do that next month too, but
We can do it now.
or we can do it now.
Let's do it. Better. What day is the 4th of July?
Friday.
Long travel.
Well, can we go ahead and move it to the 10th then? And that puts our meetings back to back. We've got 5 Thursdays in July. We want to look at moving July 17th to July 24th. Space them out.
I would agree with that. That's a good thing. We're back to back, we, a lot of business. Right?
Yeah, and then having a 3-week span, there's too much business for here all night.
Do we need a motion for this, or?
I think, no.
So just
We'll
July
just go to
seventeenth to
So
the
we're looking at
24th,
10th and 24th, we'll get notice.
17th to the 24th, yeah, the 3rd to the 10th.
and then the North Shore and Shorelines will be.
Those-
Those will have to.
I will be virtual on June 26th, so Tyler will facilitate the meeting. If I
Oh.
can't, if I cannot get on virtual, the meeting is just easier,
We approved him as the vice, didn't we?
yes,
Okay.
he just didn't
He
accept.
just didn't, it wasn't here to accept or deny.
just-
You were voluntold.
Oh, it's like-
That's what you get for not showing up.
I tried this campaign.
Josh did it. Look at him smile.
It was a payment for having to show up with meetings and all that.
Okay, it's 6:12, if there's no further business, do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion. to adjourn.
Tyler.
I'll second.
And Barb. Meeting adjourned.
Thanks, Matt.
So we didn't notice the 24th. Okay. So I gotta write that next year.
So don't forget, on May 31st, we have our annual appreciation